312-644-6767. Let's go to Augie with us on 6-7 The Score. Hey, Augie, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing? Let me ask you, how are you going to play for somebody that you don't respect? All right, and I'm not just talking about Eberflus. I'm talking about Kevin Warren and the whole Bears organization.
So, Augie, you support the effort that they're putting out?
Well, I just don't think that they're going to give the effort because they see what the organization is doing to the one person that brought him in and put this team together, which is Poles.
Augie, thanks for the call. Here's what we're talking about. 312-644-6767. Do the Bears need to make a change this offseason with their core group of players? And Augie brings up a fair point. Augie, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I would pose this question. Did you think that they respected Thomas Brown? Because if you thought that they respected Thomas Brown, well, they showed that man very little respect on Sunday. And I think somewhere in here we are expecting, whether it's Matt Eberflus, who I found to be very vapid at the podium, I admit that. But I think we are expecting these head coaches to provide the enthusiasm and the want to for the players. The way I see it, Thomas Brown, what he is taking over and being asked to do, he is supposed to have a plan for how to beat the 49ers. And it is on these players to have the desire to go out, I'm going to use some coach speak here, to go out and execute said plan. Right? I feel like somewhere it's gotten a little bit lost in what is expected of a head coach. Because the players, listen, Thomas Brown doesn't get to carry the football and run between the tackles, right? Thomas Brown doesn't get to run after somebody after he falls down out on the field. He is the one with the plan. Chris Beatty's supposed to have the plan. Eric Washington's supposed to have the plan. It is the players to provide the desire and the want to go out and make it happen. Just like you were doing your holiday shopping, the Bears are also doing their holiday shopping. And I'll raise my hand. I am a Christmas nerd. I'll tell you, I can't get enough of the music. I love spending 3.5 hours on my roof putting up the lights. I'm born on December 25th, 1980, so perhaps it's just in my blood. It's in my DNA, like December 25th is on my driver's license. But I can't wait for that Christmas morning with a 4 and a 2-year-old. I mean, I'm watching the Hallmark Channel over here. I love Christmas. And I'll tell you, when Santa is shopping for my 4 and my 2-year-old, that is drastically different than when I'm shopping for my wife, because then we start to get into the brands. Then we're talking about your Lululemon, we're talking about your Fiore, and that's very different than when Santa's going after those Hot Wheels, because brands will cost you money. Guys, if you don't know what to get for your wife, go to either of those two places that I just mentioned. You're welcome. But the Bears are also doing their holiday shopping, and they are also shopping brands. Their brands are the offensive-minded brand, your Ben Johnson type. Their brand is the previous head coaching experience brand. That's your, Brian Flores, maybe your Cliff Kingsbury, which is a name that we have heard. Or is it the leader of men brand that the Bears are going after? That's the Mike Vrabel, right? That's perhaps the Brian Flores type. Now, I would venture to guess that if we were to ask all of Chicago, who is your dream get, right? Who is at the very top of the list for you? And I think that will go to the offensive mind brand, and that is most likely Ben Johnson. Matt Spiegel, right? There's a promo running of him saying, I am a Ben Johnson guy, and I get it. Let me challenge the Ben Johnson love. I say challenge because I'm somewhat on the same page, but let's just tackle this for a minute, because the one thing that the Bears have done, if we're going to learn from the past a little bit, if you go all the way back to 1968 when George Halas gave up the keys and allowed someone else to coach this team, 11 of the 12 coaches are first-time NFL head coaches. The one being, I know a lot of you know this, John Fox was the previous. So if there is potentially concern about a first-timer, why is there concern? It is not just a copycat league by way of plays. You are also trying to copy success. In fact, the Bears have really, really tried to copy the success of the Kansas City Chiefs. They did it with Matt Nagy. They also did it with the hiring of Ryan Poles. right? You want what Andy Reid is doing, whatever is in that playbook from top to bottom of leading organization. You want what Andy Reid is doing. Now that is great. The problem is that coach being propped up, and you think that they are going to be able to duplicate what they did. Now I bring up Matt Nagy. Nagy and Ben Johnson are not the same thing. Ben Johnson calls his own plays. Ben Johnson is calling an offense. Matt Nagy did not. He was propped up by Andy Reid. He was propped up, obviously, by Patrick Mahomes. But there's a little bit of a similarity there with Ben Johnson. Is Dan Campbell a top 5 NFL head coach? I would say yes. And I also believe this. Tell me if I'm wrong. Jared Goff, to me, is the most underrated quarterback in the NFL. Jared Goff he absolutely is. He was a 4,000-yard passer before he got to Detroit. He has been to a Super Bowl. He has also been to an NFC Championship game with the Detroit Lions. You cannot find another quarterback right now that has been to a conference championship game or beyond with multiple teams. So if you think that Ben Johnson is going to be able to copy or duplicate what is happening in Detroit, just like Matt Nagy did not have Andy Reid and he did not have Patrick Mahomes, Ben Johnson does not have Dan Campbell. Ben Johnson does not have what I believe is the most underrated quarterback in the entire NFL, in Jared Goff. He is able to call an incredible game. I get it. And I feel like we don't want to use the term leader of men just because it sounds, I don't know, it sounds a little mouth breather-ish, right? We want someone who is smart. So I'll put it another way. What about a communicator of humans, right? I believe Dan Campbell, in his own way, is an incredible communicator. We do not know that about Ben Johnson. We absolutely don't. So as you try to siphon the success of the Detroit Lions and bring it here to Chicago, even if he's a new head coach, 11 of 12 previously, including Matt Eberflus, had never done it before. Ben Johnson is not Matt Nagy, but if you look real close, there are things that have propped him up incredibly that should give you some legitimate concern. There is one guy for me that leads the feel-good storyline that I can't get enough of. I can't get enough of Io. I'll be perfectly honest. And you know what I love about Io? It's not just that he's Morgan Park's own. It's not that he's University of Illinois' own. It's not that he's a local guy. But it's also what he's doing on the court, right? Like, he's doing, I think, what we want so much from the Bears players. We want effort and then followed by performance. Io is making his own breaks. Not only does he give you everything, but it is not just effort. It is also followed by productivity and good play. So the second-round guy, who probably thought he deserved to be a first-round guy, he doesn't end up in the G League. He ends up making an impact immediately. And then you've got Alex Caruso traded for Josh Giddey. Giddey comes in, looks like he's going to take his spot. What happens? Io is as of now vastly better. He's not only a far greater athlete, he just gives you better minutes, especially in the closing minutes. So those 29 minutes a game, the 12 points, 29 minutes a game that Io is giving you, it is well earned. And he has led with effort. And it is followed by performance. Now, Caleb's ability to not throw interceptions, that is a skill. What I like about what Kurt Warner says, and where I agree with him, is ultimately where Caleb Williams will be at his best is if he uses his gift. Not throwing interceptions, a skill. His gift as a human is where he can push the ball down the field. His combination of arm strength and accuracy is what will win you games. Not throwing interceptions may keep you in games. Him doing what Kurt Warner said and playing it a little bit more riskier, that will win you games. And his gifts, I think, absolutely outweigh the skill of him having a pretty good idea of not to throw the ball, keep it out of harm's way. The question that I have is that a habit that needs to be broken, or is it simply something he'll grow into of being more aggressive and pushing it downfield? No matter what, use the gift, arm strength, and accuracy, especially when he's on the move, right?